Hello, hello, hello. So today we're going to be talking about a topic and a bit of a trend that I'm honestly a little disappointed in, and I think in the long run it's going to hurt us. But on the flip side, the cause of this is probably the best thing to ever happen to at-home additive manufacturing. What the heck am I talking about? Let me explain. Let's start with a little bit of a backstory and some context. I got into 3D printing in late 2017, but before that, I had known about the technology. My background is in injection molding. I am a mold maker by trade. I worked at a tool shop building plastic injection molds before I did this whole YouTube thing. And I had a coworker, this is 2012, 2013-ish era. He came in one night and I seen him working on the lathe on a personal project. I'm like, oh, what are you working on? He's like, oh, I'm making nozzles for my 3D printer. He had gotten into 3D printing so early that there was no ecosystem out there. There were very few off-the-shelf printers that you could buy that especially were reasonably priced. So he was building his own printer by drilling out brass plugs to make a nozzle, and his hot end was a block of metal wrapped in nichrome wire. That's how early he got into 3D printing. Me, I got in around 2017, late 2017 with a Monoprice Select Mini. And very quickly I realized this printer has some problems. It was small, it had some downsides in terms of the extruder design and the hot end design. Part cooling was barely there. So I did what everyone did at the time. I modded the heck out of it. I looked up mods to make it bigger. I printed better fan shrouds, added fans, added a better extruder, etc. Because this was the era, I like to call it the Ender era of 3D printing, where the V-wheel bed flinger was king because everyone just made kind of clones of the Ender 3. Everyone just kind of reiterated the same printer year after year after year. If you wanted a cool printer between 2018 and I will say the early 2020s, you were building a printer. Now, to be fair, there were good printers at the time. The Prusa Mark III is still a solid workhorse of a printer. And of course, you do have the more prosumer options like MakerBots and Ultimakers and et cetera, et cetera. But if you wanted a high-speed printer that was enclosed, one with like a Wi-Fi connection, there weren't a lot of good off-the-shelf options, especially at the lower price point. You were building printers at that time. I got into printing during what I like to call the heyday of the open source design. This is 2018 to 2022. I like to refer to that as the golden age. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we're all stuck inside our houses due to the COVID. A lot of cool stuff came out during that time. Flying gantry Vorons, open source tool changers, multi-material system. There was so many extruder designs that were coming out. This was a heyday for open source 3D printing. And then Bamboo came out onto the scene, and Bamboo kind of walked in, slapped all the other companies and said, stop making crappy V-wheel bed flingers. We're going now, 3D printing is maturing. Say hello to enclosed Core XY consumer machines at reasonable prices that are actually good. All this talking is making me thirsty. Buy some gamer subs, use code Canuck, link in the video description. Now, enclosed machines had existed for a while, high-speed machines, but they're always kind of a little finicky. Smaller companies were selling them. You weren't getting the same kind of service and support as some of the larger manufacturings, and costs were a little bit higher. When Bamboo came out with the X1 series and then the P1 series, and then every other company realized they can't just shill V-wheel bed flinger clones to the end of the time, they started coming out with their enclosed Core XY machines, Creality K series, Centauri Carbons, and now we have Snapmaker U1s that are tool changers as well. Things got really good for consumer level 3D printers. And I'm a little worried because while more people are getting into 3D printing than ever before, consumer machines are kind of doing that thing again where they're all becoming the same. We had the Ender of the era of the Ender, and now we're coming into the era of the 256 millimeter cubed enclosed Core XY machine in a beige box. They're always an enclosed Core XY machine in a beige box. At least some of them are tool changers now, and multi-material systems are common, but we're getting that streamlining of the ecosystem again. I'm a little worried for that because the era of the kit, I'm not saying it's over. We're past the golden age of it. People aren't building kits like they used to, and for good reason. There are three types of categories of people when it comes to acquiring a 3D printer. You have those like me, where building the printer is the hobby itself. I enjoy building the printers. It's mine. I take pride in the fact that this is my machine. And then on the opposite end, you have people who just want to make plastic boat. They do cosplay, do props, they need a printer for work or for business or school or whatever. So for them, this is just a tool. This makes the thing that they really want, which is what comes off the machine. So they don't want to be tinkering. They just want to build, or they just want to buy. And then there was that group in the middle. They were the folks that didn't really care to either buy or build. They just wanted the final product. And for the longest time, if you wanted a high-speed enclosed Core XY that printed well and was in your price range, you kind of had to build. You don't really have to anymore. You can just go buy. You can walk into a Micro Center and get an enclosed Core XY for a couple $100 now, or go online and save even more. And even a printer like this is a LDO Micron Plus. This is a 180 millimeter print volume printer. This is the price of that Micron Plus kit. This is the price of a off-the-shelf Bambu Lab A1 Mini. Now, yes, it's a Bambu Lab A1 Mini. It's not enclosed. It is a bed flinger. But guess what? It still makes a pretty dang good plastic boat. So when the price is this versus the price is this, and this one you just buy, unbox, set up, and hit print, versus building an entire kit at a much higher price, I can see why the DIY market is kind of petering off. Now, I don't think it'll ever disappear fully. There are tons of folks like me that enjoy building printers, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out, because we build a lot of 3D printers on this channel, especially on live streams. I'm just kind of worried about the future of this hobby. Another hobby I partake in, not as large as 3D printing, is FPV quadcopters. And over the years, I've seen kind of the community around DIY FPV quadcopters experience the same thing as what I'm thinking is happening to 3D printing now. When everything started, tons of groups were designing their own stuff. People were building stuff, experimenting. And then a couple companies came in and just kind of dominated everything. DJI is a good example. They pretty much captured the vast majority of the market. Yes, there are still those that still build and fly their own quads. The majority of folks have moved to just off-the-shelf machines, and everything's kind of become streamlined, and now there's the new product of the year and that kind of cycle, versus you pop into the Discord on a Tuesday night and some guy just came up with an extruder like, hey, we could slap an extruder on a Voron, it actually works pretty good. And then boom, we have the Afterburner a couple months later. Like, that kind of just rapid iteration, that experimenting, that tinkering, the fact that you don't have to meet a price point or profit margins, or you're just making it for fun, leads to a lot of cool stuff that somehow makes it into the consumer machines, but you don't kind of see the reverse of that. The consumer machines, everything becomes homogenized. All the edges get rounded off. You're not seeing the fun, cool stuff from the open source community with consumer machines, and with people moving more towards off-the-shelf machines. I kind of worry about that stagnation of the printer market, where there's like one cool thing a year type thing. It's like video cards, for example. That is something I'm a little worried about. This has been something I've mentioned on the live streams in the past. I've talked about it, and people have been wanting me to do a video where I just kind of put all my thoughts together on it, and here it is. I would love to know your opinions and your thoughts on this. Am I talking out of my butt? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. Please be respectful, but I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on that. Now, how do we fix this? Quite simply, go build a 3D printer. Even if you already have a 3D printer already, you bought that Bambu Lab A1, or you have a Prusa Core 1, or a Centauri Carbon, or whatever, probably the best thing you can do is look into getting a fun printer kit. So there's different types of open source printers. Obviously, there's fully self-sourced DIY kits, but nowadays, most people aren't going the DIY route. It is kind of expensive to self-source everything with increased shipping costs. You're not getting those pre-COVID sales and deals on AliExpress like we used to back in the day. So there are a lot of very functional, cool printers out there, but they do tend to get pricey quick. But one option you can look into is what I like to call them fun printers. You're building these machines because you enjoy building 3D printers. You enjoy electronic projects, and you want to learn. Look, this machine right here, this is an LDO Delta Flyer kit designed by Rolahan. It's only got 3 aluminum extrusions. The rest of this printer is 3D printed, except for like electronics and screws and whatnot. And this is a relatively affordable kit if you are looking to get one. Another good option is something like a Voron V0. I don't recommend building a Voron V0 as your first 3D printer, but it's a great second printer. Build one, put it on your desk next to your computer. You can tune the fans down, run it quietly. It can work on stuff while you're on your desk and it not shake your desk apart like some other high-speed machines. Rooks are another good example of an open source kit that is relatively inexpensive. It's a fun learning experience. Building a 3D printer, you will learn things you didn't know before. And you will learn how to take care of your 3D printer more. And you will learn how things work with 3D printers, where you can optimize stuff, what kind of stuff you don't need to worry about as much, etc. And once you start modding 3D printers and understanding 3D printers, you start to look for things in consumer machines that you may not have looked at before. For example, right now, a lot of people are looking into adding additional fans inside of the chambers for their printers. So one, circulate the air to get a little bit more chamber heating, and also for, fume extraction. Well, if you've built a 3D printer, you know about wiring, you know about, if you need to hook up something to a controller board, what kind of fans to look for, what kind of sockets to plug into, how to set up firmware for that kind of stuff, especially if it's a Clipper-based machine. Clipper firmware is very, very easy to mod and tweak and tune and adjust to your personal needs. So you can kind of get more out of those commercial machines if you kind of have some experience with a DIY machine. Plus, great communities. Open source communities are some of the best communities out there. I know we're going to get some comments about that in the description below, but you will see some of the most creative folks ever in open source communities for this kind of stuff, because we just be building shit. It's just fun to make stuff. You learn stuff, you have fun, you get involved with stuff, and let's be honest, everyone has printed enough Benchies and Flexi Dragons and Fidget whatevers, or whatever the current meme trend of the month print is. We need more people using their 3D printers to learn and build and do projects, instead of just printing random tat that ends up in landfills because you bought a printer, not because you needed a printer, but because you saw a TikTok and it looked kind of cool. And now that you have the printer, you need to figure out what you're actually going to do with it. Well, build a 3D printer, have fun with it, experiment, mod, bring back the good old days. Let's not all have beige boxes printing Flexi Dragons. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. Link in the video description below. If you want to help support the channel, the content I create, and things I do, check out the affiliate links, or become a channel member, Patreon supporter, or show up on some of the live streams and hang out. It's a fun time. I'm Taylor, Canuck creator. Build things that build things, and cheers. Take care.